Quimby, Burt's
Okay.
Bees, you know,
Attention.
she gave $125 million to buy the land.
All right, it's 5:30, and I am going to call the Open Space Committee meeting for today's date, August 12th, 2024. And I will, since we have no name tags for some reason, we don't know why, everybody could just go around the room and introduce themselves, and that would be great.
Okay. Elisa Crowley, Barnstable.
Tracy Pratt, Santuit.
Liz Lewis, West Barnstable.
Doug Payson, Barnstable Village.
Joe Cummaquid.
Kris Clark, Town Council Liaison.
Kate Gulliver, Hyannis.
Ann Rowland, Centerville.
Lev Malakoff, Centerville.
Genazino, Administrative Assistant.
And I'm Farley Lewis from Hyannisport, sitting in this evening for Ann, who is otherwise engaged. So I will begin by reading out the notice of recording. This meeting is of the Open Space Committee is being recorded and broadcast on the Town of Barnstable Government Access Channel in accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20. I must inquire whether anyone else is recording this meeting, and if so, to make their presence known. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to approval of the minutes, which I hope people have had the opportunity to review. And so I would like to,
I move to accept the minutes.
okay, anyone second?
Second.
Second, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, I'll get that done. All right. Okay, so we'll start with new business. Open Space Committee walks, and that might be something. Lev, do you want to take that away?
This is an idea, I was just thinking that our charge is really to look at, the open spaces we have and understand them better. I thought maybe sometime in the fall, we might have a recurring opportunity where committee members, and it could be, announced that if any public member wanted to come too, where we could go to a different area in town. And these areas we talk about, Santuit, we've talked about, West Barnstable and other areas. I'd be happy to host or, guide certain walks, and I'm sure Doug would love to do that too, and maybe others as well. So the question kind of is where and when, what would be not too onerous for people's schedules if it were, say, twice a month or something like that. And, like, is there a day of the week that works well with folks in general? I don't know if we can match everyone's schedules, but I was thinking maybe 10 a.m. on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. But if people are working, I don't know if we want to talk about a Saturday. So I kind of would open up to the group if they thought they would be interested in joining these, and then, what days work for you.
I think it would be a good idea, and also some of the conservation restrictions that we have on the table, to be more familiar with those properties might really help us. And twice a month might be ambitious, maybe once a month, or in the off-season, and then maybe we should alternate days so that we could accommodate everyone, like maybe someday do a Saturday and another time do a Wednesday. Those are just my thoughts.
That's good.
This is open to the public, it's not just
Well,
us.
if it was a quorum, it would have to be posted as a meeting, because we might have enough members that would be together, and in which case the public would be allowed or, notified that they could join as well.
One note before diving into that, I did run the idea by the interim director of planning and development. He requested to either alternate, or limit the number of members to keep it below quorum
So
but
it's-
likes the idea overall.
Okay.
So I don't know where we want to go with that.
Subcommittees? Would we call it subcommittees?
Committee, then you need to post that meeting.
I wouldn't mind posting it. If the public wants to come, let them come.
Well, if it's being posted, then I don't know why we couldn't invite the whole committee. I'm not saying everybody would come to every walk, but it's a little less.
I do hear what the interim director of planning and development said, and that if it's kept below a quorum, then it doesn't have to be posted. It doesn't, there's no minutes, there's no agenda. I think that it's a safer pathway.
Simpler.
When other groups do site visits,
Yeah.
and the committees go on a site visit, are they doing minutes and during the
If
site
there's a
visit?
site visit, then for a particular posted agenda and a reason for a site visit, then that is posted. Members are invited to come, minutes are taken, but information is taken, and to my knowledge, there's no deliberation. So that's the threshold. You either go to check things out, or you deliberate and make decisions. So you don't want to do that if there's a site visit, if the meeting is not posted.
What if you just discuss the property and then just went for a site, not to go and walk it off or, get really technical about it? And then invite the public to see what we're doing.
I think that's possible. I think that it's, as long as, check with the legal department, but as long as the walk is not deliberative, that there's no discussion about plans going forward or things that are
Right.
under the committee's jurisdiction. If it's just an informational walk,
Walk it.
I think that's fine. I mean, clear it by legal department, and I think that's fine.
So maybe Jenna will find out a little more if we can do that, and just not make decisions or deliberate, but
Right.
just, we're out looking at the properties, just so that we're becoming more familiar with
Familiar with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, kind
Right.
of like a
An
CR
introduction
monitor.
to the, yeah.
Yeah, and then you can see if anybody's dumping on it and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we might see things that we'll want
Yeah,
to let.
that we'll just keep to
Because
ourselves.
that's the other thing, we don't really necessarily know what's
Yeah.
going
Right.
on out on
Right.
these properties, because
So it's
they
kinda
may
like
not be monitored.
A CR monitor in a way.
And what is a quorum now?
5.
Five is a quorum? Okay.
I will definitely take those comments and check in tomorrow with Jim Kupfer.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Just to add to
Yep.
what's going on at the properties, Ann Kennedy had asked me at the between the last meeting and this meeting to go photograph up on Mary Dunn Road where the ATVs and motorcycles are crossing just south of Route 6, and it's intense activity. And it is so destructive, and that land, the Hyannis Ponds Conservation Wildlife Management Area, was purchased specifically because of globally rare plants around the pond shore, and it is like a dirt bike trail. And I believe that Ian is going to write a letter requesting to the environmental police to address the issue, because it is state property. But it's criminal activity. No ATVs or motorcycles are allowed anywhere in any public land in the town of Barnstable, and it's highly destructive.
Did you walk all the way to Mary Dunn Pond, or?
I did not, but I have in the past.
Yeah.
But when I went yesterday, it was like 6 to 8 feet wide of tracks. I have photographs which I can send if Jenna would like me to send, and we can add them to the minutes.
So is state-owned, is DCR holding the,
No, it's, I'm not sure if DCR manages, it might be Fish and Wildlife,
okay,
because it's a wildlife management area.
yeah.
But is the, like Mary Dunn Pond, is that town or state?
State.
That is state land where Mary Dunn
Well,
is?
so,
Yeah.
Okay.
so Fish and Wildlife should know.
Yeah, definitely. There definitely has, with your photographs, I think that we could definitely direct attention to the issue.
Also, the
And it-
Plymouth Gentian.
Yeah.
That's it, thank you.
May I suggest that maybe this committee send a message to the town manager and
And to Fish and Wildlife?
to contact the Mass Fish and Wildlife, if that, whoever has jurisdiction over that property,
Property.
that there's this concern.
I have alerted Chris Nappy in the past, and he's addressed our committee, and they have limited staff.
Of course, yeah.
Is one of the
The
problems.
town staff, but it's state property.
Correct, it's state
So-
property.
So we need to send a message that is broader than the town.
Mary Dunn Pond
So town manager and Mass Fish and Wildlife, you think both
Or
would
just, do you
be?
think Mass Fish and Wildlife? If that's, first you gotta find out who really owns it.
If Doug has contacted the town environmental.
Yeah, well, the environmental police should definitely be notified.
Yeah, Doug has contacted the
Yeah.
town natural resource officers.
Okay.
So they have jurisdiction within the town, but if it's state property, they need to know. So I guess I'm suggesting that maybe both should be notified that this is a growing concern and is documented, blah, blah, blah. Maybe you need to
Okay.
substantiate that.
All right. Well, Doug, please,
Sure, and I
follow up
would
on that.
walk the,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe we need to go to Channel
Yep.
5 or something, and,
Well,
or the Boston
yeah.
Globe,
I'm
and put a
just-
spotlight on the.
ATV use?
Yeah.
I know, that's just sort of a
Sure.
forgotten land back there.
We have a Cummaquid resident right here.
Yeah, exactly.
And
So-
this is something that the people in Cummaquid are somewhat aware of, I don't think to the degree that Doug has mentioned. But this is definitely something that we would be interested in finding out more about, and whatever help the community can give, I'm sure that
Okay.
it would be available.
Great. Well, thank you.
So I think that in any future letter to the town manager and the state, we should say that the community is willing to support with volunteer services
I have a long email list already, so.
Yeah?
services to help monitor any violations that are done on state property.
Yep. All right.
So my point is that we shouldn't just say there's a problem. We're saying we're willing to help
Right.
help resolve that with,
But I think the people that own that need to know
yes, exactly.
and take it off the town.
It's a mixed bag.
Like I said, they're understaffed.
All right. Okay, well, great. I think if we all collaborate on this, I think we will hopefully get some attention drawn. I'm just not sure how they can, control it, but that's up to them. I mean.
Large boulders.
Large boulders coming from above.
No, they need to essentially, they had in the past put boulders all along there,
Yeah.
but there's an area where they can get through.
Right.
Maybe making it narrow enough that a pedestrian could squeeze through.
Right.
Or a cyclist, but not a motorcycle.
Can they lift the bikes up?
I've just looked it up on my phone. So some of the property is Massachusetts and some of it is town-owned.
Okay.
It's a mixed bag back in there.
Okay, yep.
Okay.
Is it Mass Fish and Wildlife?
It's Mass Fish and Wildlife.
So Elisa, it's a matter of enforcement.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you have to have somebody posted there at all times, right? How do you enforce it?
walkers and cameras,
Cameras,
All right.
drones.
drones.
All right. I guess we should move on, but we can discuss Fall Walking Weekend. I just, at this point, we have our dates. It's going to be October, isn't it? It's Indigenous Peoples' Day, so weekend. So I think it's, yeah, so it'd be the 12th, 13th, and 14th of October.
Is that Saturday, Sunday, Monday?
This time we need.
Saturday, Sunday, Monday, yes.
And is Friday in play?
I didn't include Friday, if you feel like that we could or want to.
Doesn't it seem though, unless it's Friday afternoon, you feel like you don't get as many walkers?
It's hard to say. Some organizations prefer to do walks on, a Friday because then it's sort of their work week. But,
Oh, like BLT, you mean?
well, in the Barnstable Clean Water Coalition.
Oh, I see what you, okay.
So we could do it. We can do it the 11th through the 14th and see what happens.
So, is that a Friday or is that?
That's a Friday.
That's a Friday.
So, but we will have to, see how many walks we can rustle up, through that time period. But I think we should go ahead and start, at least starting to promote it so that people know that it's coming. And we'll detail the walks as they become available. That
So
would be-
you periodically send an invitation to past walk leaders to see if they're interested?
Yes, which I will do
Okay.
shortly. I always feel like if I do it before Labor Day, that somebody's going to swipe
do
at me. But I think, the sooner they know, the better
Do the
off.
save the date.
Yeah,
kinda
save the
thing.
date.
The
Great.
problem is, if you don't have it galvanized by our September meeting,
Yeah,
then it's
Yeah, I know,
almost too
it comes
late
up.
because it's the,
Very
we
true.
need to advertise by the 1st of October.
okay. All right, I will get that rolling. What's happening down there?
May I make a suggestion?
Yes, please.
Why don't we move up the update on Cummaquid Woods in case
Oh,
she
sure.
doesn't
Yeah, we can
wanna
do that. Yep.
stay for the
Okay,
entire
yep, so
meeting.
that'll get
Give
you-
you the option.
So I'm up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep, go
My
right
name,
ahead.
Again, is Marie Rizzo, and we were here last in June, so I've got some notes, meetings that have occurred since then, and I figure I'll do that first. So just after that meeting, I think the next day, the Barnstable Fire District Water Commissioners met, and there was this discussion about the process needed to acquire the land and the best site if they wanted to do a test well. And they were still waiting for responses. They sent notices to some of the landowners to see what their intentions were, not just for the properties that are on the market, but possibly for the others. And they were still waiting to hear from them at that point. And they decided to continue their discussion to the next meeting. The next one, I'll get to that, and it's still on my list, I think. Actually, no, the next one is tomorrow. That's right, tomorrow. So then, in July, no, I'm sorry, I take that back. The next one was in July, and the discussion continued with the Prudential Committee, who does the funding, and they decided to go ahead with the application phase with the CPC to acquire the property at 153 Oakmont. Skipping ahead, their next meeting is tomorrow, and so I don't know yet where that's gone.
Whose meeting is tomorrow?
Say that one more time, please.
The Barnstable Fire District, right?
Oh, okay,
Right,
okay.
the Prudential, there's two, there's the Water Commissioners and the Prudential Committee.
Okay.
And they meet separately,
Okay,
one after the other, but the Prudential Committee, as far as I understand it, holds the purse strings, and the Water Commissioners takes care of everything dealing with water. So, for example, the Prudential Committee would deal with also anything having to do with the fire department. Anyway. All right, so then, middle of July, we went to the CPC meeting, and there was discussion about the properties, more than the 153. Probably you have a question? No. Then both 153 and 87 Oakmont, which are on the market, and they decided to take the step to appropriate funds to have the properties appraised.
Appraised, right.
And I asked Lindsay Council the end of last week where that stood, and he said the appraisals are in process. In addition to that, we've been in contact with Mark Robinson of the Compact of Cape Cod Conservation Trust and have entered into an agreement with him. He supports what we're doing, and we have entered into an agreement with them. And then finally, Cummaquid Woods, Save Cummaquid Woods is applying to become a nonprofit corporation for two purposes. One, to become a recognized organization, and then for the second, to enable us to do some fundraising.
Very good.
And I think that's it on my notes. So
Great.
It's in process, ongoing. So do you have any questions?
Would it be faster for you to work with the Barnstable Land Trust?
You know, I'm not sure. It could be. I mean, the compact, the Barnstable Land Trust is part of the compact.
Yeah.
But I'm never sure. I'm still figuring out how all that works together. We have talked to Janet.
Yeah.
And she's certainly aware of what we're doing.
Good.
It's hard to know exactly when you touch base with someone again, and, you know, I don't want to be, well, I don't mind being a pest, but I don't really want to be a pest. But, yes, so that's a
Okay.
possibility.
Yep.
Yeah, so,
Good.
I mean, if she's
Yeah.
aware, you know,
Yeah.
she would have said.
There's multiple things happening as far as the fire district, the CPC, my group, and trying to figure out who fits into what and how we
Okay.
keep this going is.
So it sounds like the key issue right now is getting the appraisals done so you know how much money you have to get
Yes,
to
exactly.
purchase this.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
and as I said, you know, I've been in contact with Lindsay and.
Yeah. And, yeah, and
That's
so
the next
the
thing.
appraisals are in process at this
Yes.
point? Great. And so how long does that take usually?
have no
I have
idea.
no idea. Okay.
Depends how busy the market is.
Yeah. Do you know what your timeline is for the 501c3?
Okay, what we're doing is, at this point, isn't a 501c3. It takes a year or more.
Yeah.
Which is why I've been in contact with Mark, which is why we have made that
Okay.
arrangement. But before that, because he has suggested that we wait until there is some kind of purchase agreement, certainly to collect funds.
Okay.
But what we can do is what's the word? It's a pledge, to do pledges. And, you know, you get to a certain point, it's like, okay, now I'll see tomorrow, does the Barnstable Fire District have more information? You wait for different
Right.
organizations to tell you, oh, this is the direction they're going in, this is then the direction we should go in. It's sort of reactionary.
Yeah.
But becoming a nonprofit corporation would allow the collection of donations, small ones most likely, because they would not be tax deductible, and that would be the big difference between becoming a 501c3 and a nonprofit.
Great. I'll hope that this all sorts out quickly. That'd be great. Yeah. Yeah.
I know.
So, all right. Okay, anything else on your?
No, that's
on
all
your-
I've got.
Okay. Anybody else have questions, comments?
I do have one thing. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're talking about site visits. If any of you would like to come see what is there individually,
yeah.
feel free to. Ann has my email, just to see what's there.
I believe there's a trail along the southern edge of all those sites.
There actually is a trail, apparently, I haven't been on it, along Route 6,
Yeah.
to the length of the property.
Do we have property owners' permission to walk in there?
No. Well, Barnstable Tire District possibly. But even walking along, it still impresses me that there's that much wooded area and that it can be so beneficial to, especially where, not so much in Cummaquid itself, but you go along Marydine and I think about, I've been here for 22 years and I think about what that was like, and now it's very industrial, which is fine, but I think all the more reason to say, well, we're running out of open space in this area. So,
For sure. Thank you very much for your diligence on this. That's great. So,
you don't mind if I stay for the rest of you?
oh, please.
Welcome
than
to
welcome.
stay.
Yep. All right.
Cranberry bog.
Okay, let's do a quick look in on the Centerville Cranberry Bog. That seems to be,
I did check in with a
good.
neighbor,
yep, okay.
and who is an engineer, and he said nothing's changed.
Okay, all right. There's been no activity from the owner or the,
I think they're at a standstill.
Okay.
No, it's not, I think they are at a standstill.
yeah, Ann's notes here, so she just said she hadn't heard anything. And she did send an email to legal about this, and this is going to, we are going to turn you off, maybe. Yes, okay.
Back talk.
Hal, is that you? All right. Anyway, she's still waiting further information from the legal department about this, and then that kind of all spins out into the whole 61A, 61B land issues, and that we need to create a town policy to oversee that and make that understood. Okay. That's that. Okay, the outstanding conservation restrictions, Wheeler has been closed and recorded.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I know, that's really big. Prince Ave and Harshu have been approved by the state for local signatures, but needs to go through the town council again for approval. If the CRs have changed significantly or materially, they should also come before open space again for review. She's, okay. Amaral. Understand this has hit a bit of a legal snag, so I've inquired about status. I am concerned, as usual, that Amaral, who purchased this parcel, and others with CPA funds, which require a CR, but no CR has been applied to date. All right. Okay, that's that. And then Santuit Woods.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Farley, on those 3 properties, should we direct a letter to someone requesting these have been dragging on for years. It's
Yeah, well, I mean, she's written to legal about it.
Right.
So I don't know,
Very faithful to.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I'm not questioning
wanna kill
Ian.
that?
I'm saying that the log jam
Yeah.
with these 3 conservation restrictions is really a little ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I don't know what can be done at this point. Do you, Kris?
I have no idea. I guess I can check with the legal department to see what they recommend before does this committee make a petition at a town
Yeah.
council meeting.
Yeah.
We have limited power. We only recommend to the town council.
I know, and actually, the most recent email that Ann sent to,
Karen Ober.
to Attorney Conley is she's away until later on this week, so I think she'll be
I
back in
was not
touch.
privy to that conversation.
Yeah. Well, no, she just sent, she was a whole list of different
Sure.
items that she wanted addressed, so we'll just kind of, perhaps by our
So the
next
town council
meeting.
meets once in July, once in August, and then twice again for the rest of the year.
Yeah,
So right now, there's,
right.
the agenda has already been galvanized for this coming Thursday.
Yes.
And then not meet again until, I think it's September 5.
September 5, okay, all right. Very good.
So if there's any
Yeah, well, she's.
action that
yeah.
is expected from this committee that you want me to relay, it's not, I don't have an opportunity at a council meeting until September 5, unless you
Okay.
want me to do it in advance of that.
Yeah. Okay, great,
Thank you.
Thank you.
yep. All right. Okay, so the next thing is our pathways update, including walking library, NEMBA, path project, and geocaching. So,
I guess I'll do a
Yep.
couple items related to that. So if we could pull up the letters that Ann just sent. So at our last meeting, we took a couple votes regarding the Cape Cod Pathways Network in Barnstable. So this one is regarding the crossing of Route 132 at the community college.
Right.
So if we maybe scroll down just to see the map so folks can refresh. The Cape Cod Pathways Network, shown in the red line, crosses at the YMCA driveway. This is where the route has always been, but the crossing itself doesn't have a crosswalk. There's high-speed cars going back and forth on Route 132. There's a lot of potential for, kids and families to use the facilities at the YMCA and the ball fields at the college and going back and forth. Safety is paramount. So this is a section of state highway. Mass DOT would be the ultimate implementer if this was to move forward. Subsequent to our last meeting, I did have a site visit in the area with the vice president of the community college, talking about some other trail opportunities there. But while I was there, I shared this draft letter that I wrote for Ann, and they were very supportive as well. They see that would be a great improvement, and they might then pursue adding some sidewalk on their property along that access road. So this is their secondary access into the campus, and there is no sidewalk on it right now.
Secondary to what?
To the main entrance.
They have two entrances, one at the conservatory closer to Route 6, which is the first one you come to when you're coming from Hyannis. And then the second access brings people over to their tennis courts and ball fields. And then it's directly across from the YMCA entrance.
Understood, thank you for that clarification.
So anyways, they did say that they would be available to send a letter of support as well. So now that Ann has finalized the letter, I'm going to share it with the college administration to try to get that moving forward. So the YMCA itself is a leaseholder on town property. So that's a municipal parcel where the YMCA is located. But I don't see any big conflict myself with those folks. I think they would enjoy the safety as well.
I think we got a response from President Cox about this, that he was in favor of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, great. That's
Yep.
great.
And that, and also it got, Mark Els has responded that he will send it on to DPW for further review.
That's great.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Maybe something.
I'd just like to speak in support of that. The main cultural campus for the town of Barnstable is that area where Cape Cod Community College, the YMCA, and the conservatory are located. And it's rather shocking that a school that serves upwards of 10,000 students, there's no bike path along there, there's no bicycle lane, there's a sidewalk that's very poorly maintained that has vines growing out almost into the street. And I think we're going to see a dramatic increase in enrollment at Cape Cod Community College because the state has just voted to have free community college.
Right.
There is also a large affordable housing development southeast of the YMCA with children. And so there's a really compelling case to do something both from a pedestrian and bicycle safety standpoint in that whole area. And that will eventually connect when the Cape Cod Rail Trail is extended, hopefully in our lifetimes, along parallel to Route 6 on the south side.
Okay. Any questions or more comments?
Oh,
Okay.
do you want to discuss
Summed it up very well.
geocaching briefly?
Well, before,
Or do you want
I
to?
have a very brief update
Oh,
on
yeah.
that, but we had one other letter that
Oh, yeah,
had
the Cummaquid
just
Trail.
finalized.
Yep.
In a sec, if we could scroll down to the, I think there's a map in this as well. So this section of the Cape Cod Pathways Main Trail in Barnstable, south of Flint Rock Road, and or it is Flint Rock Road and Boulder
Right.
Road area. There is some question about, is Flint Rock Road, does it exist all the way through that area? So right now, the property maps,
Does what exist?
pardon?
It's not clear.
The road layout of Flint Rock Road.
The road.
So Flint Rock Road, when they built Route 6, they kind of realigned it.
Okay.
But then on the property maps, it kind of shows some breaks along the way.
I see.
So this is what is designated as the red main trail of Barnstable, but it has this, it's always had this cloud over it, this question mark about
Ownership?
ownership of the layout of Flint Rock Road. So there's been some, difficulties with some of the neighbors who, see it as their property, and it may well be their property. But when I was talking with Lindsay Council about this, because he's a big proponent of this route, he thought it really needs to be evaluated from a legal standpoint, from a, like a title examination.
Right.
So that's what then we're asking Mark Els to dedicate some town resource to at least resolve that one way or the other. So if it's definitely private property and not Flint Rock Road, then the question is should we pursue trying to acquire easements so we can have the path be contiguous? Or if that can't be done, or we can't afford it, then we'd be abandoning it, possibly. You know, if people put up private property, no trespassing, you really don't have that available to you anymore. Then there's the alternative routing that I brought up at the last meeting, which would go up Boulder Road and over to the county farm. But then it's got all those other entities to get permission from the county and from the water department to continue the route, which is ideally Sandwich to Yarmouth. That's the red pathway.
Right.
The goal of it. So right now, this is a question mark, and we're hoping the legal folks can at least let us understand where we are, instead of just scratching our heads and trying to decide whether there's a path or not.
I think this is going to become more important because construction will begin this fall on the extension of the Cape Cod Rail Trail to Mary Dunn Road.
Yeah.
And this would be a critical connection for people who live in Barnstable Village to not go on the windy section of Mary Dunn Road, but to actually cut through the woods.
Woods. Which is what's possible. Yeah. Yeah.
Cut
Okay.
down on the ATV.
That very well may cut, particularly when they blow through the bike path route from Willow Street to Mary Dunn Road, then it will become obvious to more people that there's illegal activity occurring in the Hyannis Ponds State Management Area.
I mean, it's a philosophy, I kind of agree with it. When you get more legitimate, responsible users in an area, those other people will want to be somewhere else. Because people have camera phones and they're taking note of their activity. So, you know, it's not a perfect answer, but I think it.
Well, I just think that you have more eyes out there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So, any other questions on?
Geocaching?
Well, I reached out to geocaching enthusiasts, so they're still working on a proposal for having a new cache in Hathaway's Pond. So stay tuned for that. So hopefully that can be part of a walking weekend
Oh, good.
geocache
Okay.
walk
Okay.
this fall. And I believe we just received the draft guidelines today.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe folks will want to look at those, and, you know, next meeting we'll have questions and.
Yeah. I looked through them. So there's, you know, there's plenty of detail there, and restrictions and so forth. But I mean, it's basically trying to eliminate the amount of impact you might have on a given environment by doing this.
Yeah, I didn't see anything, no alarm bells there.
Yeah.
It seemed to be very common sense.
Right, yeah, so, but you definitely do have to apply through, it wasn't clear to me who was the czar for geocaching in the town. I mean, whether it's Gracie Roberts or,
It looks like it's depending on the parcel. So if
Okay,
it's a
yeah.
conservation parcel, it
Okay.
would be conservation staff.
Right.
If it's recreation land, it would be.
Democratic
okay,
morass.
so it's just
Director,
depending on that.
And if
Okay.
it's other things, I guess it's
It would
probably
be
Grace.
It strikes me that it would, from this discussion, that it would be advisable that there is a single lens for which any proponent should be able to apply. And then through the town staff, they can designate this is recreation, this is conservation, or whatever. But I think that it would be,
Okay,
from this just gut response, that it would be simpler for the general public, a resident, proponent, to say, how do I contact the town?
okay, so you're saying you want it,
A town
single source point
designee.
to-
Yeah,
yeah,
designee on
for
property manager.
application. Okay,
And if it's Grace Rogers, if it's David Anthony, or however
Yeah.
this goes, that it would be advisable that this goes through a designated person or a department or something. Because I think
That, because not everybody has, or, has the time or opportunity to access all the GIS information that's required to, determine where, where this
True.
property
Yeah.
is. Yeah, yeah. so-
and don't know the structure of the town, the town staff. Thank you.
So just as an aside, in the
Yep.
Hathaway Pond area, there's archaeologically sensitive areas in there that would have to be.
So the area in question is a playground, piece of playground equipment that's been abandoned. So
Probably
it's
not.
it's just a metal pipe. It's been there. But don't tell anybody.
Just
Once upon a teeter-totter.
Teeter-totters.
I used to go on that.
Those were a lot of fun unless you.
Okay. Anybody else have anything further on this? No? All right. All right, we'll move on to Tracy. Santuit Preserve.
High summer out there. The pond is weeding up badly, as usual, and kind of its normal state for this time of year.
Okay.
The town has been in to do some mowing. They mowed the path around that bog north of the Hollow Road, which was very overgrown. A little bit of mowing closer to the trailhead on Santuit, Newtown. And they didn't really get out to the big bog, which needs it as well. But they were there. I didn't know about it, so I wasn't with them when they did it, so but just discovered it.
Okay.
That's about it. The problem, one of the major kind of problems that's before us is how to deal with all the old cranberry weirs that are on Santuit Pond that eventually will drain into Lovell's Pond, which is down gradient of all that up there. All of them are in Mashpee, of course, and.
And they're aware of the issue? Or?
Well, I think we've talked about it before. We talked about it on the last site visit, but we really haven't gone any further. And it's something that will definitely come up at the next site meeting, which has been scheduled for the 10th of September.
Okay.
And, it's, all the work would be in Mashpee, but the only person that's really affected by it is the town of Barnstable, so, and some of that work, there's some engineering involved, if it's gonna be a permanent solution. Part of the legal wording of the, when the preserve was created, was that there'd be no drainage to Lovell's Pond from Santuit Preserve. Nothing's happened in that regard. So.
Tracy, is there an update on the reconstruction of the anadromous fish run going into the Santuit River?
I've heard nothing on that myself, Doug. I guess Steve Hurley, the Mass Fish and Wildlife guy, could probably give us an update in a couple of weeks on that.
I understand he's retiring.
He is, but
Yeah.
he said he's going to be at the meeting in 3
Oh, good.
weeks. so
Okay.
A month, whatever it is.
Does he have a replacement, or?
Yes, he does.
Oh, good.
That'll be a loss with him because he has that institutional memory.
Well, Ann wanted to just remind you, Tracy, that you have to communicate to the entire committee with a CC to me. She wants everything that you see, or anything you see in the preserve, or anything he thinks needs to be corrected, to to go right into. I think Gracie is now property manager.
Is she?
apparently. Yeah, so. But it does seem like there's an ongoing communication gap there. I mean, because they're not, some people aren't talking to you, obviously, and, you know, it doesn't really help.
He's the representative on the committee.
Yeah, so, I mean, it makes your job difficult, so I'm gonna, have to, everybody has to be on board. All right. Okay. All right, open space plan. Okay, so, I know that Love, you asked about what needed to be updated, and it is the 2018 open space and recreation plan that we're supposedly needing to revise and update. So I'm not sure where we are with all that. There was some question about getting funding for, you know, an outside contractor to help with it. They did that last time, so I'm not sure if they have that in their sites right now. You wouldn't happen to know anything about it? No?
I don't have information now. I could definitely
Yeah.
put some feelers out and ask if that's an option.
Yeah, all right.
Do we have any idea about the time frame of when the update is needing to be done, or should be done, or?
Years ago.
Yeah, I mean,
Not
this
quite.
is just a
2018 is not that
really,
long ago. I mean, how much has really been accomplished since then?
Well. part of
these
the
things are
problem.
a very long and protracted project, so it seems like it takes years to get it, you know, fully accomplished. As it goes back and forth and gets revised and edited and so on and so on. So it is a long, drawn-out process.
From our
Actually-
page, right, in the?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay,
Yep,
so everybody
yep.
could look at it easily.
Yeah, no, and, yeah, everybody feel free to, you know, if you're having trouble sleeping and read a little bit of the open
Kris is
space.
the one who
Yeah,
really
Kris is she
knows every word in there.
does, yeah.
Well, she's
So-
good.
But it is a very important document, and obviously we do want to keep it current and up to date, and it does create funding opportunities for the town, so it's all good. All right, I will briefly touch on the last CPC meeting. We had two meetings on July 15th of this year. One was the annual public hearing, and the observation about open space for the future was they see perhaps a decline in purchases. You know, just saying that, you know, maybe we're somewhat maxed out on open space at this point, but it's really very clear to me why. I think that they feel like, you know, everybody has to have a piece of the pie, and perhaps, you know, open space is certainly done very well recently, and it's now time to let others get a piece of the pie. So,
You know. Developers?
oh, no, oh, yeah, the CPC is formed with the separate interests. So,
Yes.
and they all kind of compete for the same
Right,
funding.
like historic.
So, yeah, so
Historic
it's
preservation.
historic preservation, open space and recreation, and,
And buying a bigger parking lot for Princeton.
that's right. And affordable housing. So those are the three things, or 3 or 4 things that all want some funding from the state through the CPC. So anyway, that's just a kind of a general take on that.
Farley, do you know
Yep.
what the 2024 CPC, what was the pool of money?
I have it for you right here. Have a look at it.
Thank you.
Okay.
So when you say affordable housing, does that mean like if somebody
It was
builds
9.8 million.
a
No, that's
300-unit
what,
apartment complex and
estimated
10% is
revenue.
considered affordable?
What is the
I mean,
total
can they
balance
apply for
available?
Funding from CPC? Or are you talking? Okay.
14,872. German POW.
I didn't know if it had to be like a project, like the one by the
Trust
water.
fund.
Yeah.
That's not much.
Yeah. Oh, totally affordable. Yeah, no, I think they all,
Why did they
it's
return
it's actually a
this money?
separate
Oh, God.
entity now. It's called the Affordable
It's-
Housing
they still
Trust
have that much
that the
money.
town has sort of spun off, and
Doesn't
they
make any sense.
work independently on their own.
Yeah, but if
Oh,
this
no,
is,
wait a minute. No, maybe
Who's
balances
running that, Farley? Does the town, the Affordable Housing Trust?
Housing Trust, I forget, I think is it Ruth? I forget who's on the Affordable Housing.
I'm sorry, the Affordable Housing Trust
Is-
is the town manager, I think the assistant town manager.
that's a small amount of money though. Like,
I'm
I
not
want to say
sure.
was Ruth in that?
Ruth Weil?
Yeah.
I'm not sure she's still involved. I
Okay.
think it's
848.
Wendy Northcross and
Oh, right, okay.
Oh, there's the princess.
Laura Schufelt.
I'll check.
That's it,
All right. Okay, so I don't have anything more to relate on open space. Designations. That's not what I want. Okay.
I'm getting more disgusted.
Yeah. Okay, so, Kris, do you want to offer some observations?
I don't have any new news other than the town council meets once in July and once in August. And then we'll go back to twice a month in September for the rest of the year.
Yep.
And I'd have brought up to the town manager to address at least the Chapter 61 A and B properties, and said this has been an issue for our committee for some time. And the director of planning and development left the town, and now there's an interim director with Jim Kupfer at the lead at this time until until he's a permanent until a permanent director is selected. So so right now I think that it's in limbo, but I keep giving gentle pressure to the town manager about two things, basically. The Chapter 61 A and B properties, so that there's at least a strategy by the town staff on how to address any future Chapter 61 A or B properties that are presented to the town, because I know there's a limited amount of time that the town has to respond before it goes on the open market.
Right.
As we learned with the Cranberry bogs, the Centerville bog, I don't have it handy, the Centerville bogs property. And also, I raised to the town manager the overarching desire of not only this committee, but mine, to evaluate private properties in the town of Barnstable for possible purchase for municipal water. That given that there's only, from other agencies' accounts, 14% of land that is left either undeveloped or already not protected, that as this 14% shrinks, that the amount of land left to, for the town to evaluate for future water supply purposes is shrinking, that we ought to look at this, and the town manager is aware of my concerns, and this town council has not adopted this at the time, but I think that there is a receptiveness overall to hear what the strategies might be developed going forward. And I do encourage this committee, I know you're vice chair, but through the chair and others, to evaluate with some, or to encourage working with the town staff to evaluate the town's open space and recreation plan, which was developed in 2018, and look to update that going forward.
Okay.
And from my recollection, one of the action items was to meet with the water commissioners and the water districts on what are prime parcels targeted for acquisition as it relates to municipal water.
Okay.
So I know that there are many criteria for acquiring land for open space, but acquiring for municipal water supply is a premium in my estimation, and that I've made that, I'm one of 13 counselors, I make that concern aware, and don't have a lot of volume to my voice, but I think that there is some buy-in in general for that concern.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Kris, because we were just,
I'm sorry I stepped out of the office.
Yeah,
I mean,
we would just sort of had a conversation regarding the open space and recreation plan and what the timeline was going to be on that. And I don't really know where it is at this point.
Yeah. So perhaps through the chair, you can request that there be a schedule to address it. You know, look at, I think that this committee is tasked with looking at it. So I think you need to nudge the town to, you know, how do you want to do this in concert with town staff? So it's not this volunteer committee with paid town resources to, going forward, but knowing that it needs to be refreshed every 7 years or so. And it was interesting to me that somebody said that this would be an update, and an update wouldn't necessarily be a new plan. And I don't know why an update is any different from any other revision of the plan. But we had one in 2010, we had one in 2018. It started some time prior. Many of you were involved with that. But I think that we should be a pea in the shoe for the town staff and say, look, this is on our agenda. This is what we want to do. Look at it and start looking at the action items and what have we done, what's been accomplished, and what needs yet to be done or refreshed or have a new look. Thank you. Sorry that I...
No, that's helpful.
missed this
I
discussion.
think so. Essentially, you're saying hand it to the town to have the first look at it to see what needs to be done. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, we're volunteers, there's paid staff, and say, look, this is the plan that we have. These are the action items that we agreed to. What has been accomplished, what has yet to be accomplished, can we do so? And do we need to modify the action items going forward?
Okay, so what their recommendations would be. Yeah.
And if there's, I mean, this is a requirement by the state.
Right.
So it's not that it's just a nice thing to have.
Right.
But I have made a point at the town council to say, we have many plans. Local comprehensive plan, open space and recreation plan, historic preservation plan, among others, housing production plan, and say, how is the town council executing these plans? Are they just nice to have, or are we actually acting on it? So for information that was done in the past regarding lands that are available and recognized as available for water supply parcels, have we turned a blind eye to it? Are we actively acquiring them? They, for what's left, what has yet not been developed, they viable prospects for municipal water. So when I first was selected on the open space plan, when it was the land bank, by far, the number one criteria for acquiring land for open space was for municipal water, maybe 10 times the amount of votes it got for the second criteria, and I can't even remember what that was. Scenic vista, historic preservation, among others. But I do think that acquiring land for municipal water, given the threats with PFAS and the filtering, I salute the town for the progressive work it's done with PFAS and the filtering it's done at the Hyannis wells, that looking for new sources of water to serve our communities, even though we have 5 fire districts, 5 water districts, which derive their authority from the state and not necessarily are collaborative with the town. It does make things complicated. So I understand the complexities for it. Yeah. But nonetheless, I think as properties present themselves, as the Oakmont properties have done so, that we should look at what's a reasonable way of approaching these for acquisition. That's where I'm going. And I think that's part of the open space plan.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody have anything more to say at this point?
I move to adjourn.
Thank you. Thank you, Doug. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Meeting is adjourned.